ripples dance where the minnows play. In God's hands I find my way. The rod bends, the reel hums low, a silent hymn and the rivers flow. By His grace I fish today, in His waters where I pray. Every catch a gift divine, thank you Lord, this joy is mine.
Hello everybody and welcome to By His Grace Fishing. If this is your first time here, please subscribe below. Hit that notification bell, and if you like this video, give it a thumbs up. Well, these next few videos are going to be a little bit different than what I normally make. Normally when I make a video, it's usually around a particular bait that I have got picked out. And that's mostly because that's the way I fish. I normally just tie a bait on, stick a couple replacements in my pocket, take off and go fishing, and I make that bait work for me. But these next few videos are going to be more technique specific. Each video will cover a different technique utilizing some of the baits that we already have, so we're not having to run out and just buy new baits. But most of these techniques, they work very well. Some are used more than others, and some of them are techniques that people use for bigger fish. We're just going to downsize them a little bit to make them work in the creeks for us. I will tell you that the creeks that these videos were shot in, I have never been to, so I don't really know what the dominant species is or how big the fish are, but I've got confidence that we can get out here and catch some fish. And it's not so much about the techniques that we're going to be using as much as it is just utilizing the water temperature. And one of the biggest tips that I can give you right now this time of year, here in Tennessee, we've had some 100-degree days here in a row. The creeks are extremely warm. A lot of the fish don't want to bite. But if you can utilize the water temperature and use it on your behalf, you can catch a lot more fish. And I'll try to explain that to where everybody can understand it for the most part. Right now in the creeks, like I said, the fish are hot. They don't really want to bite. But we can cut back on fishing a lot of the creeks that it's got a lot of dead water in it. In my opinion, 90% of the fish in these creeks are pretty much concentrated in about 10% of the water. So if we're fishing all this other water, we're really just wasting our time just cast after cast. And we can do that by utilizing the water temperature. Most of these fish right now, we've basically got two different kinds of fish. We've got the runners and we've got stationary fish. And by the runners, what I mean by that is when you walk up to a creek and you see a nice clear area that's sunny, you'll see some fish, maybe small fish or big fish, but they'll just be kind of swimming like they're trying to get somewheres. And most of those fish they're trying to find shaded pockets and just somewheres to hide. And those fish, usually when you walk up on them, they will dart off and run and hide somewheres or run upstream. And if you can get a bait around them or near them, most of the time they'll just look at it and turn away or swim around it because they're not really interested in eating because they're too hot. The stationary fish, though, are the ones that we're going to go after. Those are the ones that are in about 10% of the water. And that 10% of the water is going to be mostly in the shade. There's a small portion of that that's going to be in the current. These fish love the current because they have there's a lot more oxygen in that water. But for the most part, we're going to concentrate just on shade. And most of that shade is going to come from the trees on the banks, a tall bank that's casting a shadow into the water, overhanging shelves, and big boulders in the water that's got cracks big enough for these fish to get under. Anywhere where these fish can get in there and hide, that's where they're going to be. And 90% of your fish in the creeks right now, especially in the hot months, they're hiding in the shade. And that's why I love fishing these creeks right now so much, because I pretty much know where most of the fish are. Even if the creeks don't have a lot of big fish or they don't have a lot of fish in general, the fish are concentrated right now in the shaded areas. So as we go through these creeks here, using these different methods, we're going to be concentrating really not on the open water. No matter how pretty it may look or how many fish we see swimming around, most of those fish are not going to bite. So we're going to be hitting the shade, the big boulders, the shelves, the overhanging rocks, and places like that. Because that's just pretty much where the fish are going to be. And there's no need in fishing dead water. A lot of the ponds and the lakes and stuff right now where people can bank fish, most of it is dead because those fish they've went deep, and these creek fish, unless it's a really deep creek, they can't really just go deeper and get cooler. They have to find shade or find a small creek or something that's flowing out of the woods that's flowing into the bigger creek that's changing the water temperature a little bit. We run into that in one area here. But just don't waste your time fishing the whole creek. Just utilize the shade and the hiding places for these fish. And I think you'll catch a lot more fish in a lot shorter time. Today we're going to be using the micro Wacky rig. We're going to be using a 1/64 ounce trout magnet jig head. And we're going to use some of the baits that we've already got. And you can use about any bait that you've got, as long as it's a slender type profile bait, something that you can get a little bit of action to. You can usually use pretty much about anything, any of the trout worms, small stick baits. You can even use hellgrammites, or we used some power bait 2-inch minnows. There's a lot of baits that you can use, and just look through your tackle box to find anything that's somewhat slender, slim, has a little bit of action to it once you hook it in the center. And you're pretty much good to go, so you don't have to just run out and buy a whole lot of different baits. But I'm pretty much going to fish this bait 2 different ways. The first way that I'm going to use this bait is I'm going to throw it out and just let it fall all the way down to the bottom, and just give it a small twitch on the bottom, just a little bit, just moving it just a little bit at a time. And that's for the fish that really just don't want to feed a whole lot, and really are just being picky, and they're just extremely hot and don't want to eat. The second method that we're going to use is going to be throwing it out, letting it hit bottom. As soon as it hits bottom, start retrieving it with a popping action, and just really just shaking that bait. As soon as it hits the bottom, jerk it right back up and retrieve, and just start shaking it again. And it gives it, especially when you're using like a minnow profile or something like that, it gives it more of a dying minnow look to it. But that's how we're going to be fishing these 2 baits today. So stick around, see what we get. There's one right there. Little big guy. Beautiful little bass. Little smallmouth right there. Thank you for that fish, Lord. There's fish right there. Little bitty guy. Another beautiful little bass. Thank you for that fish, Lord. Oh, he took my worm. Alright, we're going to switch over to a different bait here. See if we can pull some of these bigger fish. We're going to use the same method right here, but we're going to use it with a 2-inch power bait minnow here. I want to just hook it right through the back. Just a little bit here. And we're going to Wacky style this minnow. See if we can encourage a bigger fish to come out and get it, because I've seen a few bigger bass. Oh, there was a fish. Oh, they're going for that little minnow. They're just not big enough. Straighten our tail out there. one right there. Beautiful little bass right there. Beautiful. Thank you for that fish, Lord. All right, what we're going to be searching for today is we're searching for any area that may hold a fish, and this is going to hold the same for about all creeks. We're going to be looking for areas that have shade. It's one of our biggest things is shade. We want some shade. We're also looking for any deep pockets, any rocks that overhang the bank that fish can be hiding in, and current. That's some of the quickest places that you're going to find fish on a 100-degree day like this. There's a fish. Oh, we missed that one. He came out from underneath that rock over there. All right, we're coming up on a shaded area right up here. It's probably going to have a fish. There's one right there. Not a real big guy, but he's a decent little fish there. Beautiful fish. You liked that little wacky style 2-inch Berkeley minnow there, didn't you, little guy? It's a beautiful, beautiful little Coosa bass right there. Thank you for that fish, Lord. Got quite a bit of shade here. We should have another fish. This is a pretty good size shaded pocket here. Throw up towards the bank up there where the shade's originating from, that big tree right up there. There is fish right there. There's a fish right, oh, he spit it. He's a smaller little fish. Let's throw, they're even closer to that bank. It's real shallow up there, but it's a good spot for a fish to hide. It's in that shade because they're hot just like we are. There's another one. There's one right there. Small little guy hiding out in that shade. Thank you for that beautiful little bass, Lord. Not the biggest fish, but we're not here to catch these great big fish today. All right, let's see if there's one right up here in this little shaded rock right up there. Oh, he snatched it. I seen him run out from underneath that little rock out there. He was hiding under a rock, getting him some shade there. Another beautiful, beautiful little fish. And that little rock over there looks like it's only got like maybe a 2-inch gap under it. But if we got over there and measured it, there's probably around 6 inches. Lord, thank you for that beautiful fish. And these little fish are hiding everywhere that they can. We're gonna keep fishing that little spot right there though, because there's plenty of area up there for that fish to be. Right over here, we've got another one of those small shelves right over here, plus a little bit of shade. So let's see if there's anything there. I seen him run out and snatch it from that little low rock there. Another beautiful, beautiful little bass. Thank you for that beautiful fish, Lord. Now there's a couple ways we can fish this wacky style. One is throwing it up like I've been doing mostly and just constantly twitching it back to us and letting it fall. Twitching and letting it fall. And we can also throw it out there, let it hit bottom, and just slightly twitch it a little bit. Most of the time, a lot of these fish, if there's one in this shade, they're going to grab it pretty quick. Right over in here, it's got a little current, got some shade, and it's a deeper pocket. And there was a fish. Oh man, we missed him. He came back for it. Let's see if we can get back up there and get him. I was pretty certain that there was a fish up in there. because they love all of that. There he is. He's a decent little fish there, hiding in just that little pocket right there. That one little pocket that had a little bit of shade there. It's a beautiful bass right there. Beautiful fish. Thank you for that beautiful fish, Lord. If I was fishing any creek right now with high temperatures like it is right now, this water that we're in is actually fairly warm. I would fish every creek the same way. Now we're letting that just hit the bottom. I'm just twitching it a little bit. We'll see if there's another fish in there. All right, we're out of the shade, so we're going to just keep throwing up into that shaded area. There's another one right there. So we've got two fish right there, I think, out of that little shaded spot. He threw our minnow off. Lord, thank you for that beautiful bass right there. We're going to switch back over to that power bait floating trout worm now that we're into some little better fishing areas. If for some reason this doesn't work, then we'll switch back over to that power bait minnow, and we're going to fish for just a little bit longer. And the way that you hook most of these baits, Wacky style, get in the shade here so our camera doesn't overheat, is you're going to just take your hook, and these small baits right here, if a bluegill gets a hold of it, a lot of times they'll just tear it right off. But we're just going to hook it right in the center, right through the center. Let that bait just hang like that right there. When you use a bait like this right here, Wacky style, it slows down the descent of this bait. Of course, we're in pretty shallow water, but that bait is going to sink a little slower than it would if you had just hooked it through the head. And you can also give it a more lifelike presentation here. See if we can get a view of this bait right here in the water. I don't think you're going to be able to see that right there. The current's washing it away. But you can get a more natural presentation with this bait than you can if you just hook it through the head. All right, we've caught a couple bass out of there. If you look up in that same spot, right before it, we've got some fresh water that's rolling out of that hill right there. So that water is going to be a little cooler than the surrounding water. So that's also going to entice some fish. There's a little guy right there. He came off. He was a real small fish. So not only did that place have shade, it's also a little deeper, but there's a fish right there. But it's also bringing those fish in because it's got a little bit cooler water. It's a beautiful, beautiful bass right there. Calm down there, little guy. He loved that little Wacky style floating trout worm there. Lord, thank you for that beautiful fish. Let's see if there's any more in that little spot. We've also got some current coming from upstream that's flowing through that deeper area there. There's another one. There's another one. Beautiful. Beautiful little fish. Thank you for that fish, Lord. These fish are not wanting it to really sit still. They're wanting us to do a throw it out and just do a twitching retrieve, giving that worm as much action as we can. There's another one right there in that same little spot. Another little bass. Nope, this one's a little bluegill. Beautiful fish right there. Thank you for that beautiful fish, Lord. And you can use about any bait, Wacky style. The smaller stick baits I like to use like this also. There was another one right there. He came back for it. Another bluegill. Beautiful. Thank you for that fish, Lord. Let's clean our camera off here. Our bait right here is starting to get a little worn already. It's starting to rip, so we're going to pull that hook out Want to move it up just about a 1/4 of an inch. And let's keep fishing it here. So we've used 2 baits today. We may not have to use any more. Was one right there. It's pretty much instant. He's coming back for it. There he is. Beautiful, beautiful little bass right there. Thank you for that beautiful fish, Lord. So these 2 baits right here, they have really went after. And I don't use the Wacky style presentation in creeks near as much as I should. I used to use it a lot in the lakes fishing for bigger. There's another one going after it. I used to fish this a lot in the lakes using stick baits. There's another fish. Rock bass. It's another species. Beautiful fish. And all of these fish are still coming out of shade. We've also got some current coming up here in just a minute. And we'll try fishing up there. See how this Wacky style does in that current. We're going to fish this little pocket right here out until we don't have any more fish. That's another little bass that come out of this one little pocket over here. Thank you for that fish, Lord. That's a beautiful little bass. And I'm going to say that that still is probably not all of them. There's another bite already. And we're inching closer and closer to this little pocket here. Another little bass. We're inching closer and closer to this little pocket and still catching fish. Lord, thank you for that beautiful bass. And it's not because this creek right here is just completely just loaded with fish. It's because most of these fish that are in this creek are concentrated. We just tangled up right there. I don't know if we can get a fish to help us get out of there or not. If not, we may have, there we go. It's because most of these fish are concentrating right now in these shaded areas. Still don't think that's going to be all the fish out of that hole. That's a very small hole right there. Oh, we had one, he just ran off. All right, there's also a little spot right up there. It's got a nice little shelf on it. It's a small shelf, but that little shelf right there is big enough to hold a fish. They're fighting over it. He came right out from underneath that little shelf, still staying in the shade. Lord, thank you for that little bass. And that's really the few things that I search for in a creek. Is mainly, I'm looking for shelves. Root systems on trees are excellent. Small cracks, there's a fish right there. I seen him dart out from underneath a little rock. But during the summer, most of these fish are not going to be out where you can see them, because I can't see any of these fish that we're catching right now. Lord, thank you for beautiful fish. I can't see any of these fish that we're catching right now. They're all hidden. And these fish are not like, it's not like the lake. They can't really go to deep water and get out of the heat and find cooler water. The only way that they can find cooler water is by hitting the shade and getting into current and stuff. There should be another one in that shaded area right there. Got a little bit more shade up here. There's another small little rock up there that's got a ledge that we're getting ready to come up to. There's a little shaded spot right there. Is there anything in it? There was. He came off. He was just a little bitty guy. Let's try to get up towards that little shelf up there. I don't know what kind of fish would be under it, but there's a fish right there. Oh, he came off. Will he come back for it? He's got it. We're going to give him a second to get it down because he's just a little guy. He was too small to take that bait anyways. There's that little shelf right there. That's where we were wanting to kind of get to. There. Oh man, that was a nice one. That little bitty tiny shelf right there held a nice little bass. I don't know if we'll ever get him to come back again. Man, that was a nice little bass. That's not him, but he's got one chasing him out of there. A little bluegill. Beautiful, beautiful little fish. Our little worm here's about had it. Thank you for that beautiful bluegill, Lord. Our worm is really getting it.
Down by the water at the break of dawn, casting my line while the world moves on. Every ripple tells a story, every breeze a prayer. In the quiet of the morning I feel him there. I give thanks to the Lord for the fish, big or small, from the creeks to the rivers, big or small. I'm not just a fisherman with a rod in hand, I'm a fisher of men, following his plan.
I have a hard time getting out right now because of work. This whole little pocket right here is shaded, but we've got a lot of current coming down through here, so we should be able to find a fish or two in here. A lot of people are having a hard time finding, there's a fish right there. Oh, there's one. A lot of people are having a hard time finding fish right now. And if you can get down in the creeks, it's a beautiful little bass. Let's get back in the shade ourselves here. If you can get down to a creek, even if the water's hot, don't jump there. Lord, thank you for beautiful fish. If you can just get out and look for areas that are shaded, the deeper pockets, and just some rocks in general. Any kind of root system coming off a tree, overhanging rocks, any kind of shelf. We lost our worm on that one right there. But just get out in these creeks right here and just search for those areas. Search for running water, choke points, but mainly right now these fish are in the shade. We're going to switch back over to a power bait 2-inch minnow here. But just find the shaded areas, and I don't care what creek you go to right now in Tennessee. If you can find some shade, most of the time you're going to find some fish right now, because those fish are all congregated up right now into, there's a fish right there as soon as it hit the water, and we got one chasing it. Oh, we got a bass that's trying to eat our bluegill. No, we got a bass trying to eat our bass. Thank you for that beautiful little bass there, Lord. These are not real big bass, but we could be sitting at home not catching anything. Battery overheated again. Man, you can't keep a battery right now for nothing. We'll fish this hole out right here. There's a bass, I believe. We've switched back over to the power bait 2-inch minnow here, Wacky style. It's the Wacky style is working really good for us today. Lord, thank you for that beautiful fish. But I'd rather fish right now in a creek if I can get into it than I would about any time of year, because all these fish are congregated in certain areas. Oh, we tangled up there. Still don't think that's all the fish in this hole here. I think there's going to be a couple more. There's too many little cracks and rocks here. I'm not in the water with them right now, but I can tell you that those little cracks and crevices there are a lot deeper than what you would think. There's a fish right there, come out of a little rock. What looks like a small rock to us is probably got a, like I said, a 6 or 7 inch gap from the bottom. So this little fish right here was hiding under it. Lord, thank you for that beautiful little fish there. Let's pick this little spot apart here. And then we're gonna call this trip right here, Wacky style, a success. I think there's some more in here. I think there'll be a couple up in the heaviest part of this current. Usually there's a lot more oxygen up there. Let's go ahead and throw on up there. You can see all those fish we caught out of this hole right here. It's just a little bitty hole. Oh, there was a fish right there. I was talking and he come up and smashed that thing. And man, you have got your spots, little guy. Beautiful, beautiful little fish right there. Thank you for that fish, Lord. All right, we lost a jig head there. And give the camera a break for just a second. Instead of going with the power bait 2-inch minnow or the power bait floating trout worm, we're going to try a this is a Euro tackle little minnow here, and we're going to try it because I know that this method right here of fishing Wacky style here is going to work for it also. We've just got to get to a couple more fish here. I think that's the majority of what's in this little spot right here. There should be a little bass right in there though. There's one right there. What have we got? Beautiful little bass. Beautiful little guy. You are one beautiful little smallmouth right there. Thank you for that fish, Lord. All right, we should have some fish up in here. Even if it's just a small one. There's one. Came off. Oh, and we tangled up. I didn't want to tangle up right here, because we've got too pretty of water here. It's probably got 1 or 2 fish in it. I can't see anything, but there's something here. Another beautiful little bass. Thank you for that fish, Lord. There's another one. A little bit bigger than that last one. Thank you for that beautiful fish there, Lord. Where'd you go, little guy? Yeah, you went back in the water. I don't see you. Let's see if we can pull us just 1 or 2 more small ones here. There's one right there. Thank you for that beautiful, beautiful bass there, Lord. Several little cracks up there. There's a fish. Beautiful little bass right up here in this little bend. Thank you for that beautiful, beautiful little fish, Lord. Well, everybody, that's pretty much about it. That's as far as we're going to go today using this method. The method we used today was the Wacky style method. I use it a lot, or I used to use it a lot when I would bass fish on the bigger lakes and stuff. It's not something I use quite as much in the creeks and stuff, but it's a very good method to catch fish, especially in areas that are pressured. I don't know how pressured this creek is. I've never fished here before. But it's a very good method to use, especially in pressured areas. It gives that bait a little bit of a different presentation in the water. and it's worked out really well with us today with all 3 baits that we tried. The power bait floating trout worm, the power bait 2-inch minnow, and that was a Euro tackle minnow right there. And we have successfully caught fish on all these using that method. In all of them, we used the Trout Magnet 1/64 of an ounce jig head. And what we focused primarily on today was shade and little ledges and cracks. And we're going to continue to fish this creek here just a little bit further. And we're going to switch over and make another video, and we're going to be using a different method. We're going to try to cover a few different methods here in the next month or so on creek fishing, and different bait presentations, just different methods in general to try to catch some of these creek fish. But I want to thank everybody for watching and supporting this channel. The channel's still growing, and I'll try to make as much content as I can. The heat's not really keeping me from fishing. It's work. It's hard to work and fish at the same time, especially when you're putting in, 10 and 11 hours in the hot sun. But I really enjoyed this trip right here. This is a beautiful creek, and it fished exactly like I figured it would. I figured that the fish would be congregated in the shadows, in the shaded areas, and they were. And I pretty much figured that's where they were going to be today. And we're going to continue to fish this creek a little bit. We're getting some cloud cover right now, so these fish are actually going to start scattering now as long as this cloud cover stays over. And we'll focus on some different areas here. But I want to thank everybody for watching and supporting this channel. And until next time, God bless and have a good day.